It appears the governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem, was busted using her position in order to try to financially help her daughter. So now the Associated Press is reporting the pro-Trump governor summited a meeting with the head of the state's real estate appraiser certification program as her daughter was struggling to get a license through that same program. Now, why would you have a meeting? Oh, that's interesting. Now, Noem's daughter is Cassidy Peters, and she had first applied for that license in September of 2019. Now, a letter dated July 27, 2020 showed that the appraiser certification program had moved to deny her license. So why is that? Well, the agency said that this sometimes happens when somebody's work samples do not meet their standards or the right standards. So that would mean that very likely she either didn't know what she was doing or didn't pass any tests. And I'm not intensely familiar with that process, to be fair, but apparently there was something about her that just wasn't up to snuff. Okay, hey, look, understand that that does happen. Sometimes you'll get rejected the first time, but then you can come back later after you do some practice, or whatever, right? And you can come back and you can become certified and then start to work. Now understand that that's what should have happened. But it didn't. She didn't bootstrap it. She didn't work a little harder to get the license. Didn't apply a little elbow grease. No, apparently her mom arranged a meeting and basically bullied her to get the license. Bullied someone to get her that license. So now Noem had taken matters into her own hands and called the agency head, Sherry Bren, Bren's the district direct supervisor, as well as the state labor secretary, in for a meeting on July 27th of 2020 with her daughter present. So that right there, already experts will point out, whoa, that is a conflict of interest. There are some issues here. Okay, you got these people directly involved with the licensing program with your daughter who just happened to have her license rejected. Interesting. Now, the AP said that what was discussed at the meeting was not entirely clear, but that it involved conversations about how people would get certified, and that the fact that Noem's daughter did not have her license. Apparently, after this conversation, Peters, who was then 26, got her license 4 months later in November of 2020. Again, we don't know how. Was it a friendly conversation? Did they say, look, hey, I'm just wondering, like, what's with my daughter? Why didn't she get her license? What's going on? Is there anything we can do to expedite that process? Which, of course, would be very ethically wrong in this case. There would be some issues here. Now, what makes it even more fishy is, the fact that later on, Bren had alleged that the state labor secretary, Marsha Holtman, had called her in a week after the meeting and demanded her retirement. Asked for her retirement, let's be fair. Hey, completely unrelated matter. You just had this meeting with the Governor Noem, and, you're getting old, you're 70 years old. Hey, why don't you just pack it in? You just pack it up. Get retirement. Now, Bren's like, yeah, how about no, I'm going to stay. And filed a lawsuit, which was settled for $200,000 to withdraw her complaint, actually. So it didn't even get to that point where she would sue, but just the threat of the lawsuit was more than enough for them to say, okay. Here's $200,000. Shut your mouth. Right? Gee, I wonder why. They paid her. It's not entirely clear. I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. Now, Bren did leave her job on March 2021 after the state paid her $200,000, as I said before. So now I think this looks like textbook corruption. I think it's a swamp. I think calling people up for personal meetings to get your daughter something that she might not have met the criteria for I think that's abuse of power. I think that's abuse of influence. That's a problem. That's it. Let me give you the response here. A spokesperson for Noem, Ian Fury, which, by the way, that name's awesome. I know it's a spokesperson for Kristi Noem, but like, Ian Fury. All right. So now, that person told Business Insider, quote, the Associated Press is disparaging the governor's daughter in order to attack the governor politically. No wonder Americans' trust in the media is at an all-time low. South Dakota is open for business. What does that have to do with anything? South Dakota open for business? What are you talking about? That's super weird. They added, we won't allow bureaucratic red tape to get in the way of South Dakota's sustained economic growth. Having more quality appraisers in the market will help keep housing market moving and home prices down. Well, look, I'm not familiar with the South Dakota market, to be honest with you, but in general, I've only seen a rise in home prices. Now, again, that's hardly the fault of South Dakota. It might not even be, applicable in South Dakota. But we do have a problem in this country of giant companies snapping up homes with cash and making them into rentals. These are not mom and pop renters, these are gigantic corporations. Sometimes they're overseas, foreign corporations that will come up and buy up these homes, kind of like the Kushners, the Kushnervilles that I talked about earlier. Now, that does drive up home prices, and it does reduce supply. It also increases gentrification, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, okay, so now if you're talking about, hey, we need appraisers, right? Okay, make sure they're licensed and trained properly. All I ask is that people don't cheat the system or use any influence to give their family an unfair advantage over other better people, other better candidates. Now, look, I even called out, for example, Hunter Biden being on the board of Burisma. I don't give a goddamn about Hunter Biden. I think half the crap that's thrown at him and Joe Biden is ridiculous. But hey, Hunter got on that board not because he was qualified about gas or natural gas. It's because he was a son of Joe Biden and they wanted to get influence. So understand that that does happen, that there are influence peddlers. There are people that are trying to get influence by hiring family members and doing things like that. Now, this is not quite that situation. This is somebody who's already in an established position going in and literally talking to this person saying, hey, why haven't you given my daughter a license yet? I find that very, very shady. You should just probably just give her one, and then, we wouldn't have any issues. We wouldn't have any issues here. So, and here's the other thing, right? There is no reason that I think Cassidy, and I don't even know, maybe she did, but Cassidy probably could have gotten certified on her own through applying herself and trying again and again and again. And maybe that is what happened. I don't know. But the sad fact is, because of this, she is forever tainted. No matter how good she is or may become at the job, it doesn't matter because now it looks like she got here through tainted means. And it could also mean that she could be out there doing a job that she's not, qualified to do, which could end up hurting people in the long term, hurting consumers. And so this is not a good situation for anyone involved. And I think a really good example of personal corruption. Now, Noem also responded to this. Here's what she said. Listen, I get it. I signed up for this job, but now the media is trying to destroy my children. She's almost 30. I think she can handle herself. She's what, 26, 27? Come on. The story is just another example of the double standard that exists with the media, going after conservatives and their kids while ignoring liberals. Hashtag ask the big guy. Who's the big guy? Who's the big guy? Also, I'm sorry, but did you miss the media ripping into Joe Biden? Especially about Afghanistan. They're vicious. Everybody was attacking him. And generally, I would normally attack Joe Biden, honestly, because he's not as progressive as I would like. But I attack him from the left. What the media does is they've been attacking him from the right when it comes to Afghanistan. And the reason, of course, is that mainstream media loves constant warfare. That said, if they're ignoring liberals, I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure they would report on liberals doing the same thing. I think really the real thing, the real blind spot of mainstream media is that they just completely missed the corruption of money in politics. That is affecting both sides. They have a gigantic blind spot for corporate donations. For example, here's a good example of this. The Hill's Alexander Bolton wrote about Kristi Noem and her opposition to the reconciliation bill. But he frames it as, and get this, right? Big mystery. Kristi Noem, what an enigma. Can't figure it out. No, it's not a mystery, guys. She has 923,065 reasons to oppose the infrastructure bill, the reconciliation. That's how much she got from the industry groups to oppose reconciliation. The donors. It's the donors. So now, again, they write, though, back to Alexander Bolton. She's not afraid to march to the beat of her own drum. Kristi Noem. No. She follows the donors. That's what it's always about. Now, they also don't talk about how Joe Manchin literally makes double his salary from fossil fuels. They don't talk about how the pharmaceutical industry gives an almost equal amount to Democrats and Republicans so that we don't get anything like allowing Medicare, for example, to negotiate prescription drugs. While all these corporate Democrats are coming out and saying, oh, well, I don't know about the cost of this reconciliation bill. No, it's not about the cost. It's about what it would actually do to corporate profits. That's what it's always about. So, no, spare me the bullshit, Kristi, okay? No, you got caught with your hand in the cookie jar trying to use your influence and your position of power in order to help your daughter and to help her financially. And by the way, again, gets her license, she'll be able to do this as a job. Yeah. Sad. So now, ethics experts, as I mentioned before, told the Associated Press that even though the contents of the meeting are not known, the fact that her daughter was present does show a conflict of interest. That said, Bren declined to give the AP more details about that meeting after speaking with her lawyers. Wonder why. I think maybe she wants to take the money and just stay silent. Or maybe she's afraid of being targeted by Kristi Noem. By the way, is very close to Donald Trump, very pro-Trump, and he has said some very nice things about her. So I'm pretty sure she doesn't want to get involved in that firestorm. Not entirely sure. That's just my guess. I don't know. But to me, this is definitely a conflict of interest. It's another example of the swamp, corruption. But unfortunately, like a lot of the corruption that happens in our government, I do not see this being investigated only or even punished. So that is a sad reality. Again, it comes down to abuse of power, corruption, and of course, money. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.